The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has declared Yahaya Bello, the immediate past governor of Kogi State, wanted in connection with an alleged laundering of 80.2 billion naira. This comes as the anti-graft agency disclosed at the Federal High Court in Abuja that it will use relevant state powers to ensure that he is arrested and made to stand trial. Arise correspondent Godfrey Eshemoge has more.
Fulfillment.
Yahaya Bello is a man on the run, with the EFCC hot on his trail with a 19-count charge bordering on money laundering filed against him. With his whereabouts unknown, his case came up on Thursday at the Federal High Court Abuja before Emeka Nwite, the same trial judge who 24 hours earlier granted a warrant for his arrest. Abdul Wahab Mohammed, who represented Mr. Bello in court when the matter was called for his arraignment, challenged the validity of the charge on the ground that the court lacks jurisdiction. The senior lawyer who urged the court to vacate the arrest warrant said a high court of Kogi had on February 9 restrained the anti-graft agency from arresting, detaining, or prosecuting Bello. Bello's counsel also objected to the application by EFCC's counsel, Kemi Pinero, to serve him the charge on his client's behalf, as it's a criminal trial. However, Pinero argued that Bello, with the aid of his counsel, seemed to be on a quest to frustrate the trial by evading service of charge. The prosecutor therefore says the anti-graft agency will go all out to arrest Yahaya Bello ahead of the April 23 date fixed by the trial judge to rule on the mode of service.
We have informed the court that by virtue of section 287 of the Constitution, all persons are obliged to obey the court order. The court order is for his production on the next adjourned date, and the state will ensure that it's produced in court. Section 12 of AJA also allows a law enforcement agent to break down any premises where a defendant may be hiding. And so the state will invoke all its powers within the law to ensure that it's produced in court for the purpose of arraignment, and it's in his own interest. So he can come and plead his innocence or take his plea as to whatever he wants to say.
Meanwhile, the EFCC has released wanted posters of Yahaya Bello. The former Kogi State governor evaded arrest at his Wuse home after the Kogi State governor, Usman Ododo, and the company of police operatives allegedly whisked him away to a destination unknown, giving another twist to the unfolding drama. Godfrey Eshemoge, Arise News.
Needless to say, there have been loads and loads of drama regarding the ongoing standoff between EFCC and former Governor Yahaya Bello. But beyond all the bedlam, what does the law say about processes for arresting wanted persons in Nigeria? As the EFCC conducted itself according to the precepts of the Constitution in this instance? And what about conflicting rulings by two courts of coordinate jurisdiction as alleged? Well, for answers, I now turn to lawyer Liborous Oshoma, who joins me here in the Lagos studio. Welcome to This Day Live.
Thank you. Thank you,
Sunday
Doctor.
Talk Show.
Yes.
Yeah, quickly. You had the questions.
Yes.
I don't have to repeat them.
Yes, yes.
Can you respond to those questions?
Yes. You first and foremost, the question I would want to ask in answering your question is the fact that are we really ready to fight corruption, or we are just interested in the melodrama and the attempt at pretending to fight corruption? Because you raise some valid questions. When there are not just two conflicting judgment of the court now, orders of court, and then you have an appeal on one of those orders, wouldn't it have been tidier for you to allow the Court of Appeal, since you have submitted to the jurisdiction of a superior court in this instance, wouldn't it have been tidier for you to allow the Court of Appeal deal with this issue? So you take away all of the impediments. You know, here, when we hear corruption, the moment we hear corruption, the masses we're in a state of frenzy. Nobody wants to look at the fact of the stories, and they will just, get carried away. Everybody wants a corrupt public officer to be prosecuted. Every Nigerian wants that. But the question is, why is it that consistently EFCC has not been able to achieve this feat? It is because of this, like you asked, have they carried out themselves, within the precedent of the law? It is because of issues like this. And I give you an example. You want to arrest a public officer, you go to town. Yeah, we will declare him wanted, we'll do this, we'll do that, we will close the borders, and then you give him opportunity to run to court to say, I've not even run away, but my name is everywhere that I want to be arrested. No invitation had been extended to me. So, but it's already everywhere. I'm apprehensive. Please grant me an order to protect me from this harassment and persecution. And then an order is granted by court. And that order is subject to the powers of the Federal High Court in the event of subsequent prosecution. And then EFCC appeals the order and say, no, you can't do this. And you know, as a lawyer, once you get to court, in the course of prosecution, the evidence garnered within this time that this order is subsisting are going to form the questions or the issues that defense lawyers will raise. And so when you create all of these loopholes, and once there is a doubt in the mind of the court, it is resolved in favor of the accused persons. Why create impediment that will create doubt in the mind of the court that evidence were garnered in the course of trial? You are not even extended invitation. You are not even a taking statement. And then the next thing, on the day that an order was granted, and the matter is stated for judgment a week after or a few days after, the next thing, you suddenly wake up and like, no. We need to get to court to get an order. And from what I also gather, you file the same charge in 3 different federal high courts. And that's no longer prosecution, but persecution. And then you file the same charge in 3 different courts. And then you wake up.
No, just a moment. Let me get it right. You are saying that the EFCC is not seeking to prosecute former Governor Yahaya Bello, but is trying to persecute him.
Yes.
So you see this as a witch hunt.
Yeah, yes, exactly. You know why I'm saying this? I'm looking at this strictly from the ambit of the law. I would have wanted a situation where the EFCC would prosecute Yahaya Bello, prosecute former governors, and then would, instead of seeing all of this drama, we want to see results. Nobody wants drama. Just the same way it was Dino Melaye, we saw a lot of drama. It was Rocha Sokorocha, we saw a whole lot of drama. And at the end of the day, what became of those cases? Because you intentionally create impediment. Now, the discussions on the lip of everybody, major lawyers is, okay, how come there is a subsisting order restraining the EFCC, and yet, despite the fact that you have filed a 7-paragraph affidavit against that order, you have filed a preliminary objection, and your objection was dismissed and the order was granted, and you have filed an appeal, you have submitted to the jurisdiction of a higher court, why do you still need to use this fire brigade approach?
Well, the chairman of the EFCC is a lawyer.
Exactly.
So you think he doesn't know anything about procedure?
This is the challenge. Prosecution starts from investigation. And when investigation is wishy-washy, at the end of the day, prosecution will end in untimely accident. That's why somebody like Ozekome had taken EFCC to court 11 times. He boasted about it, and he had won them these 11 times. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that despite being chairman, even the chairman admitted that EFCC prosecutors intentionally boggled their cases. So when you admit that much as a lawyer, wouldn't it have been tidier to sit down, look at all of the cases, look at the impediment? There is no statute of limitation to prosecution. Wouldn't it have been tidier to say, like they do in other countries, to say, we will watch this, we will ensure that we take away all of the impediment, cross our T's and dot our I's, so that when we confront the accused person or the defendant with the proof of evidence, we have no other option but to own up. But what do we do here? We go to the media, we do razzmatazz, we'll do photo ops, and at the end of the day, everybody is happy. I used to be, but I'm no more carried away. Everybody's happy. Yes, EFCC, they will arrest this former governor. And then at the end of the day, he gets to court, is granted bail, and so one day, like in Adoke's case, they wake up and say we don't have enough evidence.
Okay, counsel to former Governor Yahaya Bello is raising issues of jurisdiction and also saying, look, there is another judgment that the court of, I think it's Justice Nwite, should take notice of. But in that court, the counsel to EFCC, I think that's Kemi Pinero,
yes.
said that, look, they will use the military to arrest former Governor Yahaya Bello. Now, and he has been declared wanted on the basis of the leave of court that they were granted. Now, what will you advise Governor Yahaya Bello to do? And should anybody call in the military to arrest anybody?
This is how the military sit on their own in a democratic dispensation. This is how we cut them. We tell them that we are not capable of taking care of handling. I don't want to use the word nascent democracy again. Handling our democracy. The military on their own. You were in court with this same man. If I were Yahaya Bello, having an order of court, I won't voluntarily submit myself to be ridiculed. I will exhaust all the apparatus of the law. And when after exhausting all of that, before I know the next step to take. But a situation where you have submitted to the jurisdiction of the court with me, and then you turn around to say, yes, you block everywhere, block the entire road, and you now say you want to use the military. You're calling the military in for a simple arrest, or what a simple invitation or a simple appeal can solve. What it means, like I had said, is that you are not truly ready for prosecution. You just want the razzmatazz. You want to pretend to be fighting corruption. And I say this advisedly, it's almost like a pattern. Every former governor that leaves the office is like the EFCC says, oh, you've stolen so much. Come and give us our own. And then they give the impression to the public that they want to fight. We want to send this man to jail. And then the next thing, people are happy. They come around, they arrest, and there's so much noise in the media, and then gradually the matter dies down. If you remember, former governor of your state, Ogun State, Otuba Gbenga Daniel, in 2007, EFCC arrested him and charged him.
Use another state. Why must you go to the state?
No, let me use your state.
You have examples from your state.
And then charged him for stealing 60 billion. And we're like, what? 60 billion, one man. Because I don't even want to go into the charge of this one. And then, while the matter was in court, quietly, the charge were amended to 200 million. And the media didn't hear. Just in this same vein, in this same particular charge, the first charge was the money, 80.2 billion was stolen in September 2015. And Yahaya Bello came into office in January 2016. And then later, it was amended that the money was stolen in 2016, February. And then you ask yourself, of the 8 years of Yahaya Bello, you want to investigate him. You didn't even look at all the entire 8 years. You didn't take your time to settle down, to investigate all that had happened in that 8 years. You first took a charge, because mind you, that charge also will be subject to objection. And you took a charge and you're charging him for an offense before he got into office. Only for you to remember, no. There's a mistake here. You amended the charge. Maybe when we eventually get to court, I am telling you this authoritatively. This 80 billion that Nigerians are celebrating now, a few months or years from now, you will hear that the same EFCC have amended the charge, and maybe it's 8 million then that they'll be talking about, and nobody will hear about it again. Fayose also comes to mind. No, so now let me leave your state. Let me go to Ekiti. Ekiti. It was, Fayose, he stole so much, he has emptied the state treasury. We were happy. The man went to court, EFCC, here I am. And they arrested him, took statements, people were expectant, the media were expectant. And after calling 13 witnesses, that's the EFCC prosecution, after calling 13 witnesses, the same EFCC accused the judge of bias. So that means she should recuse herself. So what that means is the matter is going to start de novo. So all of those efforts had been wasted, and the expectations of the public died down. So people will lose hope in that until the next governor leaves office.
Okay, so what advice are you giving former Governor Yahaya Bello to ignore the
advice I would rather give EFCC,
the declaration that he's a fugitive?
The advice I would rather give EFCC is you are intentionally creating impediment to the success of your own prosecution. Clear out all of those impediments. Which one will be better for you? To successfully prosecute or just to go to court for the sake of going to court, and at the end of the day, the court will discharge and acquit the person. So why don't you leave all of these stories and everybody that is urging you on, yes, corruption, and focus on the impediment. Now you said there is a court judgment. Remove that judgment. Fight it out. We are not persecuting you. We just want answers to certain pertinent questions that came up in the course of your administration.
Okay, very quickly, I have just about 2 questions to ask you. How complicit is the judiciary in this? Because you find the EFCC going to about 3 different courts, and then the courts of coordinated jurisdiction giving, almost acting like appellate courts over each other.
You see,
what happened?
When it was, you remember in 2015 when the fight for the soul of PDP, one court will give order in Abuja, the next day another one will give order in Port Harcourt. It became so frightening. And we had thought that the judiciary and the bar were going to do something about it as stakeholders. And then it died down. And once there is this kind of prosecution, especially with EFCC, there's a ping pong. And people had said that you cannot excuse the judiciary away from this. You can't excuse them away. At a point, there were allegations that what EFCC used to do is to fish for judges that will do their bidding. Some people even felt that maybe they have, scoop on some judges, and so they tell them you must do this, otherwise we're going to open up a case against you. And also, situations where there's no need to grant ex parte or grant injunction, restraining order. Court shouldn't be seen granting, restraining orders. But we've seen it consistently. One court will grant restraining order, another court will say, no, you can't restrain. And then a third court, a matter is pending. And then the same charge is filed before a fourth court. All of them proliferation, and nobody is punished. The NBA will not do anything to some of these lawyers in these places. Nothing. And like Justice Kayode, Esho of blessed memory, JSC, once said, behind every allegation of bribery against a judge, there is a senior advocate who is a conveyor belt. Okay. And if you look at all of these cases, you have senior advocates on this side, senior advocates on this side.
But finally, let me ask you this. What do you think of the advice given by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, in the matter, who has been quoted as saying that nobody should obstruct justice, and that former Governor Yahaya Bello should toe the path of decency and give himself up. Now, obstruction of justice in this case is probably referring to the much mentioned allegation that Usman Ododo, the incumbent governor of Kogi State and successor of Governor Bello, had tried to cloak, the former governor, to cover the former governor with the cloak of immunity, and that he spirited him away. But his immunity under Section 308 attached to the convoy of a governor or attached to his person.
You see, I laugh when I hear such statement. And unfortunately, the Attorney General is somebody I have high respect for. I think he's not properly abreast with all of the facts. And then the question, very laughable question, I asked somebody yesterday, EFCC cordoned off the house. And then all of a sudden, the current governor came in. And as soon as he came in, shouted, immunity. And then EFCC paved the way. They paved the way. He entered into the compound. They didn't follow him. They opened the gate for him. He was shouting immunity. And then they paved the way for him. He entered. And then he entered the house. They didn't follow him. Then he went. He took, just like Knight in Shiny Armor, he took Yahaya Bello, in his red cape and a sword. And he flew him away. And the EFCC were there looking at him. He was just shouting immunity. And he left. And when you hear these kind of stories, you ask yourself, are they really there to effect an arrest, or they are there for the show up? Because the governor allegedly came in a place that was cordoned off by EFCC. They allowed him. He entered the compound. He entered the house. They didn't go with him. They didn't follow him. And then he whisked the man they were looking for away. And we should clap for them and say, oh, yes, Superman came, Spider-Man came, and then with his cape, and then he just took him away, so you didn't know what happened. That can only happen in movies. I'm really not impressed. That's why when I look at this thing, I'm like, people can be, sentimental about, yes, because it's corruption. But I don't just want to see arraignment. I want to see, if you are arraigning somebody, who want to be sure that this one, you don't catch up.
Well, finally, do you think that all of this is political? Some people have been circulating a certain video in which they claim that ahead of the 2023 general elections, when the northern governors decided to step down and agree on the zoning of the presidency within the APC to the south, that it was only Governor Yahaya Bello, as he then was, who insisted that he would, contest the ticket and that, he didn't agree with the zoning to the south as agreed upon by the 17 northern governors. And that this may be payback time for him. Do you share that view?
I do not think so. Because if you look at the politics of Kogi itself, you've had 3 governors, Idris Wada, Abubakar Audu, and what's this other man, Ibrahim also, from the Igala Aziz. Mind you, Igala was carved out of Old Benue, and then the Igbiras and the Okuns were carved out of Old Kwara. And consistently, the Igalas had been, at the aim of affairs in Kogi until Yahaya Bello came. And in the last election also, there was this dispute about who is truly the majority in the majority. And he's also been able to install a successor from the Igalas, the Igbiras. So all of these politics of Igala and Igbira, we can't close our eyes to it, that this also might be at play. That's why, for me, I do not think that EFCC truly wants to prosecute, because if they want to prosecute, there's a whole 8 years of the administration of Yahaya Bello. You're not looking at it. You're looking at the first 1 month, just 1 month in the life of that administration. Then you close your eyes to every other thing. So I don't think it is the stepping down or not stepping down of the presidential contest. And secondly, the post of the, sorry, I'm running up now, the post of the APC national chairman had been keenly contested recently. It is zoned to the North Central, but now it is domiciled in the Northwest. Also, don't rule out the politics of that APC national chairman.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Liborous Oshoma, for your insights.